Lifestyle workshop. Yeah, lifestyle lit. I've been legit. The motive is in. I'm going again, but I'm going to win. I don't know when to end. Got me needing residuals for the time that I spent. Yeah. All right. Welcome back to It's a Lifestyle with the official LP. I am your host, the official LP. I hope everybody has been liking, commenting, subscribing, sharing, making sure you tune into the episodes and following what I've been bringing to y'all. And hopefully y'all been enjoying what we've been doing and hopefully are building in this process. So I appreciate everybody. As always, I will always lead with I appreciate everybody who's been tuning in. And if you are new to what I've been doing, my name is the official LP and welcome. And it is a, excuse me, let me say that again. It is a lifestyle. I hope everybody's week was good. My week was solid. It's always filled with a lot of productivity. But there's been some recent losses in my family that have kind of rocked the core a little bit, but you try to stay as grounded as you can and try to just push forward in those through those processes. But just rest in peace to those family members. I will touch on that um at a later date in another episode because I'm going to do actual special tribute to my family. And it's definitely been a time to reflect and make sure that you know the time that has been spent or the time that is going to be spent or the things that you think about or the things that you actually give your energy to, you want to make sure that you're doing that with good intent, and you want to make sure that you're doing that with you know being appreciative of whether it be individuals or just opportunities or anything of that nature. So not to start off on a down note, but that has been the week, but it's definitely still been productive at the same time because that's all we can really do while we're able to do the things that we do. Is just don't take it for granted, and I want to make sure that just keep things in perspective. So that was the week. I hope everybody else's week was good, and I hope that everybody got the things done that they needed to. If you are going through tough times out there, make sure that you are sharing that with other people around you, and make sure you staying close to the ones that love you and the ones that care for you, and make sure you're keeping your mind right so that way you're able to focus and do the things that you need to do because it is a lifestyle works. All right. So I did see the Smashing Machine. I don't know if y'all seen the Smashing Machine. So the Smashing Machine, I this has been getting some buzz. It was promoted. It's starring the Dwayne the Rock Johnson. Director is Benny Safdie. Forgive me if I'm butchering that. It's an A24 film. The movie had a reported $50 million budget. It was promoted and marketed almost like I would compare it to the Jonathan Majors movie, The Magazine Dreams, where it was marketed, but it was kind of like an undermarket. Like you would see it in different instances, or you would see it on like Instagram Reels, or you would see it promoted through a YouTube ad or anything like that. But it wasn't. When the money and the money and the budget is really put into something where, excuse me, where it's in front of your faces and you actually get to see everything that's going on, and you're seeing this movie repetitively, and you build up that anticipation to actually want to go see this movie. So this movie came out, and the opening weekend was about $6 million reportedly. It reported $6 million, and it needs about a reported 125 million to even break even. And there's been a lot of talk about The Rock. Is his time done in the spotlight in Hollywood? And those things happen all the time. When your time is up in Hollywood, your time is up. It's almost like the same thing in music. When you got a good run, you got a good run. You may be able to extend that run. That's why there's just there's outliers, and there are rarefied air people who are actually able to go past their longevity or the predicted longevity of those markets. But somebody like The Rock, he's been in the Fast and Furious franchise. He's had numerous movies and numerous huge box office movies. I wouldn't say he was necessarily the actor that was, like a Will Smith who was able to tap into, whether it be action or it be drama, or many different, genres. I think The Rock, people always, the knock on The Rock was that The Rock always played The Rock, which, The Rock is one of my favorite people. He was always one of my first idols growing up, and I always looked up to The Rock as an entertainer, especially when he was going through wrestling. He was killing in wrestling, and I just think that at this point now in The Rock's career, for him to and it's crazy just to throw that in there, not to just throw it off, but he was getting a standing ovation at, I guess it was a screening or a premiere. I want to say maybe a week or 2 weeks before this movie was actually rolled out. And, he was crying, he was in tears, he was with his wife, and then everybody's giving him a standing ovation. And, the headline and the caption was, they were giving him a standing ovation for 15 minutes. Now, I find it hard to believe that they're standing there clapping for 15 minutes straight and nobody's saying that. Like everybody just this movie's that good. So for them to do that and then $6 million to be the opening budget, it just doesn't line up. I think there were a little, like as usual with the movie politics when you're trying to finesse a budget. Uh, they kind of played the games of trying to see if they can use more of the algorithmic tactics nowadays as opposed to really putting the money into where the marketing should go for a movie like this. Now, another problem is the movie's based around a fighter named Mark Kerr. Now, a lot of people don't know who Mark Kerr is. I did not know who Mark Kerr was. I guess he was a fighter that did mixed martial arts, jujitsu as well too, and he was a fighter as well as far as in the early UFC days. Man, he went through his ranks like that, but I think that a lot of people didn't know who he was, and some people thought that The Rock looked like him. Some people thought that he didn't look like him, and it just you kind of get mixed reviews. But to me, overall, I thought that the movie was decent as far as the acting. I did see where The Rock was trying to take it. It is hard because when I look at the individual, The Rock is way bigger than that guy actually was. So it is just it's a hard watch. But I try to give just an unbiased look and just regardless of what the chatter is online, I wanted to try to see if I could check it out and just my take on it. But if I had to really rate it, I would say it's about a 6 to a 6.5 out of 10. It's decent. Um, I feel like the story happens fast. I think the story happens fast, and you can see where they were lacking in budget. But shout out to The Rock though. Still, regardless, hopefully those. Hey, y'all go out there and help the movie numbers go up, man. Jump that up from 6 to 8, 8 to 10, 10 to 12. Let's get that up there. But nah, for real. But go check the movie out. However you see the movie, and put down in the comments what you think about the movie. And yeah, what's the next movie y'all want me to check out, or what y'all want to go check out? Yeah, how about we do that? Let's give that up for The Rock again. All right, I want to know, yo, have y'all real quick? Have y'all been seeing these videos going around? These celebrity videos: Michael Jackson, Tupac, Kobe Bryant, these Sora videos. All right, it's an AI company called Sora, Sora, and they started just going crazy. They started going crazy. I want to say I started seeing this like the past week, and every day it's just been another day of whether it be Tupac and Biggie doing the WWE or Michael Jackson being a streamer or Michael Jackson doing like a on the block street performance. Now I'm not gonna lie, there were some funny ones, like which it can be a problem with the internet. There are things that are funny, but sometimes there's like deep rooted problems within these things that are going on and that are fresh new ideas that are being thrown at us. And I just wanted to ask, like, is it too much? Is the Sora AI celebrity videos too much? Because the way that they are being rolled out, Tupac's estate, Kobe Bryant's estate. I'm pretty sure that they do not want these videos to be circulating out there to presume to make people think that these people are still alive. You'd be surprised what people think in the world and what they want to believe. Some people don't believe in AI. There are parts of either the East, West, down South, Midwest. There's a lot of different places where people have their own beliefs. And I think that with a lack of understanding to these AI systems, and even just 10, 15, 20 years from now, with the way kids are growing up, these videos could really literally rewrite history. It can make people seem like they were living longer than they needed to, or that they actually were. I think that it could put people in situations that they were never in. I think it can make people look away that they never actually looked. And I think it goes a little far. I do think that people used to do this stuff with PC and video games, whether it be Grand Theft Auto or they mod it, or WWE. I know you mod a lot of different characters and stuff like that, where you would try to put different celebrities, and you'd make videos like that. But for it to be AI videos to where they're actually looking real, like they had Kobe Bryant doing like a stream on Twitch, and he's breaking down like as if he's playing 2K, and it looks just like Kobe, sounds just like Kobe. It's just scary. It's scary. And we had a discussion about AI and music, and it's crazy because this is kind of like, it feels like this is why they went on strike with the actors, when the actors went on strike not too long ago, and they were pretty much trying to fight for their rights when it comes to streaming and these AI tactics that were actually coming down the pipeline. And when you actually see them being rolled out, you can understand for sure why they would take those measures, because this just seems like your job can be taken like that. They used to always talk about robots, and that we already see that robots are already out there. So if you got robots out there and they're training them to do the things that humans are already really are doing, so now you got online where people live online, and now they're taking over online where they can really control the way things are being talked about online. Online, they can control the way things are being viewed online, and now they're going to control the way people look online, and now they can do it in a way where they can do movies, they can do shows, they can do skits, they can take your voice, my voice, they can take anything. And the fact that they can actually take dead celebrities and make this a thing for them, a way to garner this attention, it's obviously, it's gonna breed dollars to them, and it's gonna ultimately get eyes on them when it comes to it's ultimately going to get eyes on them when it comes to marketing their app. And I'm pretty sure it's a win-win for them. But is it a little too much? Put down in the comments what y'all think about it. I think it's a little bit too much. We gonna keep track of it. I'm gonna try to throw on the screen, if for those who haven't seen the videos, I'm gonna try to throw on the screen a few of the videos so you can get an idea of what was actually going on. So yeah, AI. I can't believe that. AI. Speaking of AI, let's give it up for the real AI, Allen Iverson. Allen Iverson has a documentary coming on Amazon Prime October 23rd called Allen Iverson. Now, this is big for me, and I know it's big for a lot of Allen Iverson fans out there, and even true basketball heads, even if you're not a specific fan of Allen Iverson. I grew up on Jordan. Jordan was a lot of people's first favorite. If you were introduced to basketball or just a sports fan in general, Michael Jordan was probably one of your favorite athletes. So I think that that's just across the board what it is. But for me growing up, personally, Allen Iverson was Michael Jordan for me. Like everything he did, how he carried himself on the court, the way he played the game, the way he went at the Lakers in the finals, when he made that finals, when he won that MVP, it dropped 50 that first game against. It's like he has a lot of different legendary moments. The way like he just transcended the game, and he'll always be remembered for those things and what he brought to the game. And I just think that this documentary is going to cover a lot of different things that people don't know about him. His nickname Bubba Chuck, being from Virginia, playing football, a lot of different things when he got into that incident at the bowling alley. It's going to be very interesting just to see some of the backstories that go on with Allen Iverson. The whole famous practice. We talking about practice, not a game, not a game, not a game. We talking about practice. Very famous. It's very famous line, very famous quote, and a bit that Allen Iverson had spewed during a press conference, but there was a deeper meaning behind that, which I hope that the documentary sheds light on as well, with that being about him. And I think that they're gonna cover a lot of his Georgetown days too. They're gonna cover the whole thing, and I just want everybody to check that out. it means a lot to me that they're actually doing that, and that's gonna be fire. Shout out to Allen Iverson. I will be checking that out October 23rd. Allen Iverson documentary. Make sure y'all check that out. But let's move over in sports as well. Let's move over in sports. Um, LeBron. Come on, LeBron. And before you know the LeBron fans out there, all right, before the LeBron fans get at me, listen, this is not LeBron hate. I appreciate LeBron James, all right? But the decision 2.0, was that clout chasing or not? Like, LeBron doesn't need the clout chase. And I wouldn't specifically put that he did clout chase, but I want to know, do y'all think he was clout chasing? Because I just don't like how he did the decision, because let's just take it to when an announcement was made, right? Now, he makes an announcement that, the next day at 12 p.m. I want to say that the decision was on October 7th, so the day before, October 6th, he announced via Instagram that it was a whole deal with the whole graphics, and he was walking up to the chair and he was sitting down. He was kind of wearing the similar clothes to how he made a decision in 2010 to leave the Cavaliers to go to Miami Heat, and we all know that story. He got a lot of backlash for that. He was considering himself the villain. He kind of changed the way his aura was and the way he kind of presented himself. So there was a lot of things to that. He overcame that. He ended up winning championships. The story goes on. He ends up in LA, and then now we're here. All right. So now we're here, right? Everybody thinks he's gonna retire. That's the first initial thought that I got. I'm like, whoa. If he really retires, this is actually the perfect time to do it. He did put out a quote recently in an interview or a press conference where they asked him about his youngest son, Bryce James, who is a freshman at Arizona right now, and he could be in the NBA draft coming up this next summer. But they asked him a question if he's gonna wait for Bryce to come into the league, and he pretty much said that Bryce has his own timeline, and then LeBron has his own timeline, and he's not really aligning those two. And that kind of when he said that, that kind of made me feel like, all right, LeBron is going to go his own way. He's not gonna he's I don't think he's gonna wait for his son to get in the league. He might just retire, especially with this decision being announced. And I'm thinking like he wouldn't play with something like this when he knows that you know this was something that the people who already didn't like him, you're giving them more ammunition to kind of fire at you in a sense. And so I'm thinking, okay, he might announce his retirement. Now, outside of it being his retirement, I didn't think that um, I didn't think that it would be anything major. I didn't think that it would be anything major outside of his retirement. But ultimately, he ends up announcing that it's a Hennessy deal. Now, I didn't think it would be alcohol. I didn't think that it would be a brand. Even if he wanted to announce that, uh, he wanted to give a discount on his sneakers, his new sneakers that's coming out for, a whole week straight leading up to the season. You get it half priced or whatever it is, something that, can benefit his fans or he making a decision on just something that can be beneficial to him and or not even just to him, but to the people that have been supporting him throughout his career and all his fans, and just not setting up propaganda that just makes it that you're selling uh alcohol. Like we all get it, but it's like, yo, you want people to buy Hennessy? It's just, all right. LeBron has a Hennessy. Okay, now what? Now what? You announcing this, and the season's about to go on. It's like, are you're selling Hennessy right before the season starts? This is already you're doing the branding before the league even like. Are you trying to even win a title? So it's one of the other you know it's one of the knocks that LeBron has had throughout his career where it kind of seems that he might be a little tone deaf to certain aspects when it comes to you know being a public figure in a sense to his magnitude. But I don't I don't know if I actually believe him being tone deaf because LeBron is a very smart individual and he's very calculated. But so if he really is just about, all right, I'm just gonna collect the bag, I'm gonna collect the check, and I'm gonna just go after the Hennessy, then kudos to you, man. Kudos to you. But we'll see what he do in the season. We'll see what he do in the season. I am a little disappointed that he did announce it like that. I thought he could have did a little better, but LeBron, man, we got to do better. But hey, shout out to you, man, and just for you even just maintaining this long in the NBA season. So let's just shout out LeBron just because it is LeBron, and we got to be grateful for him being in the league because we may not see somebody like this ever again. But you got to do better, LeBron, because that wasn't it. Speaking of doing better, the Cleveland Browns need to do better. The Cleveland Browns need to do better. Now, and I say that because is it time to start Shador Sanders? Now, the Browns stand at 1-4, right? They benched Joe Flacco for Dylan Gabriel. Now, Dylan Gabriel goes out there and he's decent, but my only problem is you have Shador at the third string quarterback. You bench Joe Flacco, but then you put Joe Flacco right to be the backup. So Dylan Gabriel is one injury or one play away from Joe Flacco being right in the game. So he still ends up being in front of Shador Sanders. So it was odd that they did that. So, they start, people start raising questions about why that move was made. Um, uh, Joe Flacco is ultimately traded. He ends up being traded to the Bengals because Joe Burrow is out right now, and the Bengals need a quarterback. And it's in the same division. I don't think that the Browns thought, the Bengals are going to be. I don't think the Browns think that the Bengals are going to be a threat to them. They're trying to get their whole thing together. Usually, trades like that don't happen within the division as close. Some teams will make that trade, but they trade Joe Flacco to the Bengals, and so now Shador moves up to the second string quarterback. Now there has been talks about Bailey Zappi coming in, and that's why it gets interesting because it's like, why is there just this effort to go outside of Shador being the starting quarterback potentially, and we always have to go to another quarterback being ahead of him? It's like, oh, who else is in the room? Oh, who else is in the room? If that was the case, they shouldn't have drafted him. They shouldn't have drafted him. And it's a whole nother story to how he got drafted and where he got drafted at, which is a whole, that's a whole deep dive we didn't even get into yet. We just waiting to get to, you know, when he actually starts, which will be soon. It should be soon. It should be soon. There was a lot of foul play, I feel, behind the scenes that landed Shador where he was at because of his family and the way him and his family they carry themselves, which is in a very, I guess people would say braggadocious way, but they don't brag. They're very, they're very positive. They're God fearing, they're a God fearing family. Um, I don't understand the way that they would be treated in the NFL when the father is football royalty, and you get this kid a chance and you get him on the roster, and they end up going over and over and over and over and over again, looking over him for somebody else. So when it's time for him to actually take that field, it's like they're gonna. And I feel if they really go out of their way, that's when we really gonna be able to tell the move. If Dylan Gabriel, we don't want nobody to get hurt. Dylan Gabriel actually looked decent. He looked decent. He was micromanaged. He was dinking and dunking. So it was kind of like game manager type quarterback play. But when they really kind of take the leash off a little bit and see what he can really do, and he has a few games and a sample size, and if they're still losing or if they're winning, God forbid he doesn't get any hurt or anything like that, and it's time for Shador to take the field and they go with somebody else, that's when we're really gonna know, you know, Shador needs to get out of there or somebody. I would hope that somebody would be smart enough to see the talent there and to see the marketability and the winning that's waiting to happen. There's a lot of good synergy that's from Shador's area and a lot of good karma that's gonna come to his way and whatever franchise that takes that chance on him and actually makes him the starting quarterback. So I hope that Shador actually gets out of that situation. I don't think that Cleveland is the best spot for him. They haven't proven that. I There was a stat that Dylan Gabriel is the 40th starting quarterback in the last, I want to say, 20 to 25 years, and that's insane. That just shows that there is no longevity with that quarterback position in Cleveland. They don't know what they're doing. They're very dysfunctional. Excuse me, Cleveland fans. If you are Cleveland fans out there, I'm sure that y'all know that. That doesn't take away from the other positions and the other times that y'all have had decent teams to make decent and good runs. But the quarterback decision making hasn't been good, and it's, Baker Mayfield drafted Baker Mayfield, gave up on him. You know, shout out to my Rams. We gave him a chance, even though he did come from Carolina. He did go to Carolina for a short stint. Rams signed him real quick. He has a game-winning drive, wins a game, finishes the season with us, and then he signs that contract in Tampa Bay, and rest is history. So hopefully Shador can get a chance to do something similar or just a fresh start next year to where he can actually make his name and not be with the Cleveland Browns. So I just want to give a shout out to Shador Sanders and not the Cleveland Browns, but Shador, shout out to you, bro. You gonna get through that. You gonna get through that. And speaking of football, let's get to my week 5 picks recap. Reek, reek. Week 5 picks recap. All right, here we go. Here we go. I went 5-8 last week on the season. I am 28, 23, and 1. Had some tough losses. Had some real tough losses. I know that Eagles game. I didn't expect that. I did not expect that. My Rams, we took a tough loss to the 49ers. Wish Sean McVay didn't go for it on that 4th and 1, but you know, the play call could have been different, but I understand him trying to be assertive like that, but it just didn't go down. All right, so let's move on to the week 6 picks, though. We ain't even gonna hold this up. We're not gonna hold this up because this is lifestyle. Let's get it. Let's get to the week 6 picks. I got the Jets over the Broncos. I got the Jags over the Seahawks. Chargers over the Dolphins. Rams are gonna bounce back over the Ravens without the Ravens having Lamar Jackson at quarterback. I got the Colts over the Cardinals. That's gonna be a tough game. I got the Cowboys over the Panthers. I got the Patriots over the Saints. I think the Patriots picked up some momentum by beating the Buffalo Bills. That was an impressive win, Patriots. Impressive win. Drake May on that played Stephon Diggs. Fire. I got the Steelers over the Browns. I told y'all, Browns are a mess. They definitely, yeah, that's it. That's it. They donezo. Raiders over the Titans. I got the Bucks over the 49ers. I got the Packers. But hey, Bucks, I need y'all to pull that out. I need y'all to pull that out. I need y'all to get that victory, all right? I got the Packers over the Bengals. I got the Chiefs over the Lions. The Chiefs been having a tough season. I got the Bills over the Falcons, and I got the Commanders over the Bears. Those are the week 6 picks. Let's move over to music. Not too much in music. I wanted to finish up with. I did get to listen to that Mobb Deep album. Let's give it up for Mobb Deep. Mobb Deep dropped a Infinite album. Hard. It was fire. I would definitely give it. I know I say sometimes don't like ratings. People don't like ratings or whatever. But if I had to rate it, it would be between a 8 and a 9 out of 10. It was really good to hear Prodigy's voice on the project. It really felt like a paying tribute to Prodigy type project. And off the first track, you could just tell. Like, shout out to Alchemist, yo. Shout out to Alchemist. Alchemist, he does his things with the beats, and Havoc as well too. And you could just tell the effort that was put into it, and they really did a good job. In my opinion, this is one of the best posthumous albums to come out. Havoc is still alive. Rest in peace to Prodigy once again. I think that Prodigy's voice and whatever unreleased tracks that they did a good job of blending and making it sound current to what their sound is and what their sound would sound like now. And blending those two, especially with like Alchemist has been on a tear. He's been on fire. He's been on fire ever since he's been on the scene, but he just continues to get better and better and better and better and better. And I think these collab projects really bring out the best in him. And I think he's starting to delve a little bit more into that bag. And if you check out his rapping as well too, he's a really good rapper as well too. Phenomenal rapper. Alchemist has definitely been turning it up. So I think that he brought that same heat on this Mobb Deep project, Infinite. You definitely go check that out. My highlights real quick of that project. Let me just get the track listing real quick. Deep. Definitely Look at Me is one of the. One second. Track listing infinite. Look at Me is one of my favorites. Yeah, Look at Me. Taj Mahal was fire. Against the World. Easy, bruh. Down for You. Nas went crazy. Um, Love the Way. Discontinued. And Clear Black Nights. Ghostface Killer went crazy on that. So shout out to Mob Deep. Shout out to Mob Deep. Make sure y'all go check that out. I'm gonna check out some more music that was released. I know Bia released her project. I think that's called Bianca. I'm gonna check that out and fully, and I'm gonna get back to y'all with a review with that. But I wanted to finish off real quick with, unfortunately, I have to talk about this, but Drake, 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 Drake continues to find his name in the news. Um, so a judge tossed out Drake's lawsuit against UMG. Now I'm gonna give it up because yo, we can finally end this because this just was not hip hop. This was not music. This was not the way things needed to be carried out. And after that whole battle and whole ordeal with Kendrick and the back and forths, the back and forths, the way that everything had transpired to end up being in a lawsuit and him going against his record label and to make it seem like he's doing something for the betterment of artists. It was all just a facade. It was all smoke and mirrors, and his fan base decided to stick with it. And I get it. You know, a lot of the internet fodder was, you know, Drake is doing this to expose how bots are used. Excuse me. He's doing this to expose how bots are used, and he's gonna change the game, and he's gonna change the narrative of the way music is put out. And no, that was never the thing. He was always upset that he lost the battle. He was always upset that Kendrick exposed him, and he was upset that the fan base and the general public did not side with him because Drake is always used to being liked. He's always used to things going his way. So sometimes his antics or sometimes his behavior may get overlooked because it was a likability factor. So when actually people decide that they turn it the other way and they don't like you as much, now they start to perceive you through a different lens, and he's not used to that. So he was reacting in ways that I think that a lot of, again, his fan base and the general public were not used to actually seeing, and it played a little bit more into the way Kendrick broke down how he is and what he actually is going to do. And so for the lawsuit, he ends up suing his record label, and it's like he sued the record label and not Kendrick. And he was trying to allude to the fact that them and Spotify had pretty much transpired to they conspired to go against him to end him because of a record deal or a contract agreement. And Drake just decided to just go off the hinges, and he crashed out and decided to sue them and make it all about them. And he's talking about he was just going to unveil a lot of different things. He wanted a public he wanted an audit of all their numbers and all their records and Lucian Grange's emails. And just it was a lot. It was a lot. And it was just, to me, from the beginning, it was a war that he was never going to win. It was a war. This goes and predates back to artists for the past 20, 30, 40, 50 years. And Drake, you're not fighting the good fight. The respectable artists and the things that you have achieved, I get that. You were not fighting the good fight. You were fighting your ego. That's all that was. So I wanted to read an article from Pitchfork that was kind of discussing this real quick. Excuse me, just need some water.
Lifestyle.
All right, so judge throws out Drake's "Not Like Us" defamation lawsuit against Universal Music Group. All right, Drake's excuse me. Drake's federal lawsuit against his own record label, Universal Music Group, for their Drake's federal lawsuit against his own record label, Universal Music Group (UMG), for their involvement promoting Kendrick Lamar's diss track "Not Like Us" is officially over after a federal judge threw it out on Thursday, October 9th. reports the Associated Press. In her ruling, Judge Jeanette A. Vargas stated that the song is a series of opinions, not defamatory allegations, and listeners were aware of such. Although the accusation that plaintiff is a pedophile is certainly a serious one, the broader context of a heated rap battle with the incendiary language and offensive accusations hurled by both participants would not incline the reasonable listener to believe that Not Like Us imparts verifiable facts about plaintiff, wrote Judge Vargas. In the lawsuit, Drake also claimed the popularity of Not Like Us was to blame for attempted break-ins to his Toronto residence and a security guard getting shot. The single artwork, excuse me, the single artwork depicts an aerial view of his mansion from Google Maps. That was because I started laughing. When I was thinking about it because they really did that. The single artwork depicts an aerial view of his mansion from Google Maps and overlaid with more than a dozen sex offender markers, which Judge Vargas said were obviously exaggerated and doctored. She added no reasonable person would view the image and believe that, in fact, law enforcement had designated 13 residents in Drake's home as sex offenders. Drake took it too far. Finishing up. After the lawsuit was thrown out yesterday, Drake's legal team released a statement saying, "We intend to appeal today's ruling, and we look forward to the Court of Appeals reviewing it." UMG shared their own update following the ruling, stating, "From the outset, this suit was an affront to all artists and their creative expression, and never should have seen the light of day. We are pleased with the court's dismissal and look forward to continuing our work successfully, promoting Drake's music and investing in his career." Shout out to UMG. Hey, yo, they put them right where they need to be. So this is thrown out. This is going to be interesting for Drake going forward, right? This is going to be interesting for Drake going forward because, he has this Iceman project coming out. And, they want to see good return on their investment. They want to see good for Drake's career. Now, when Drake's contract is up, it's going to be interesting. Now, when they decide that Drake's contract is up, it's going to be interesting. Are they going to count this project towards whatever Drake's obligations are left for his contract? That's left to see. I think Drake put himself in a sticky situation by, and he has a song, you know how sticky get. A little funny, excuse me. Drake put himself in a difficult position because the way he wants to carry out the rest of his career, it seems like he wants to be free from, a lot of those obligations. It seems like that's why he was continuously being on tour. He seemed like he had a lot of different tour obligations that he was doing. He just wanted to kind of go back to back to back to back because he didn't really roll out any new projects in the midst of, him touring. He was on tour from the For All the Dogs when the beef had started with him and Kendrick. Everything had popped off. And he hasn't had, not to my knowledge, he hasn't had any project that has dropped since then. The Iceman is the first project that is actually going to drop, this coming, I would say this year, sometime this month, maybe next month. Who knows? We'll see when Drake actually decides to drop it. It's going to be interesting going forward. And I do want good music. I'm glad that this lawsuit is out the way. So, just all of the goofy stuff can get out the way and both artists can kind of go back to doing what they need to do respectively. And, a lot of good music could just be played. I mentioned recently, I had Torch Iron recently was asking where Jermaine Cole is at. Where is J. Cole? That leaves room for J. Cole to kind of, step into the light and kind of tell us what happened. But I just want good music to be made. A lot of this legal stuff is out the way, and we can get away from the summer of 2024. We can finally get away from the summer of 2024. We're gonna see if we can get away from that from Drake's project Iceman, but we will follow through with that, and we will check up on that on because it's a lifestyle. I thank everybody for tuning in. Stay tuned to the next episode and the next episode and the next episode. Again, we are always evolving. We are always adding to the platform. I'm always going to be, rolling out the things that I feel I relate to and the things that I feel that people want to know about and the things that I just think would be interesting, So that's the best part of having a platform like this because, like I said, the term I'm always use is ever evolving. So And I always want you guys to be ever evolving. We should always be ever evolving as people. And if you haven't, seen by now, check out the previous episodes. If you like what I'm doing, subscribe down, subscribe, hit that like, comment, share it to somebody else. And again, for everybody who has been checking out, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Uh, I'll continue to keep playing out because you guys continue to motivate me and share it with somebody else who hasn't checked out. Be grateful for the things that you have and don't worry about the things that you don't. That would be my message. So, y'all have a good day. Check y'all again. You know it's a lifestyle. Peace.